Homer led the league in tackles with 85. The deep ball for Darius Prince, and Philadelphia's on the board first.
On the draw, this is Bryson Allen. And Allen weaving his way all the way down to the 22.
10-yard line, 5. Mayfield, dancing all around. Throw it as far as he can throw it. Jump ball coming. Crazy stuff. Not this time.
And you want to be a wide receiver. You're going to have to take a little bit of a hit like that as Brown got him in that shoulder, but watch. Oh, those are teeth.
Do we have a dentist on staff here?
All right, we are back with another episode of Around the Indoor Football World. Sorry about the delays this morning. I was having some technical difficulties, but we're here. We're here to talk some indoor football. We're going to start off with the IFL today. Then we'll go to the AF1, and we'll finish up with the NAL. We got some special guests coming on here shortly, which should make for a really good episode. But before we get into all that, how you guys doing today?
Good. Doing well.
TJ, how you doing down there? How's life treating you?
Another great Saturday.
There you go. There you go. Lots of games to watch later on today. So really excited about this weekend of football. We got a good batch of subjects today. And Chris, you want to kick us off with your question of the day?
Yeah, so this question came to me after talking to some of my ownership sources, across the industry. Does it require you to have to go out and pay for big-time players to win long-term? So that would be my question is, do you have to go out and pay for those big-name guys to win long-term?
If you're watching, drop your answers in the chat, and we will revisit this question at the end of the episode. We will also reiterate it multiple times throughout. So, if you have a moment, take time, put your answers in the chat. We're curious to see it. And then we'll give you our opinions here shortly. But jumping into the IFL first, we've got a couple good subjects. But the first one that I really wanted to get your guys' opinions on is Quad City started this season 6-0. All of a sudden, we find them 6-2. They've slid a couple games. Daquan Neal's hurt. No word as to if he'll be back this upcoming week or if Demery Croft will continue to start. What are you guys' thoughts on Quad City? At first, it looked like they were unstoppable. Now, all of a sudden, they're stumbling. Let's go to TJ first on this one.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, especially since I picked Quad City to win last night. So that was, a little bit of a shock to me. But, I wouldn't necessarily say they're stumbling, but they're just not capitalizing at the right times like they were the first, 6 weeks of the season. Last night they had ample opportunity to win, even down to the very end. They got that score, needed the 2-point conversion. I don't think they've fallen off, but I think, again, injuries have caught up to them. And now teams are also, they've kind of gone from, just playing to now teams are noticing them. They're watching them. They're circling them on the schedule. So now they're getting the best. And I think that effect has a lot to do with it too. It's not just another game on the schedule. They're being looked at as, hey, they're the measuring stick right now. So let's see if we can go out, we can compete and see where we're at too. So again, you're getting the best. And between that and injuries, it's starting to catch up to them a little bit. I would not write them off just yet though, again, because, Neal's coming back, hopefully, at some point. So, if you're a Quad City fan, I wouldn't freak out or lose my mind yet. But yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a tumultuous time for Quad City right now.
Would definitely agree. Chris, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think I said it last week. Not having Neal there is pretty obvious. Croft, he's okay. He can't really throw the ball really well. So you lose him in the passing game. It's kind of hard to recover. I think they should be fine long term if they can get Neal back within a week or two. But if they can't, they're going to continue to go downhill because they have a really tough schedule. They have Tulsa, and then they have Indy twice, and then they have Jacksonville and then us. So it's going to be tough. So I'm kind of excited to see where this Quad City team lands in about 5 weeks if they're still at the top.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, obviously they started off super hot, and I think a lot of us expected them to be a playoff contender, but I definitely didn't expect them to start 6-0 like they did. So am I surprised to see them 6-2? Yes, because I didn't expect them to start off so well. But at the same time, like, a couple games slide due to a quarterback injury. I don't think it's ready. I'm ready to hit the panic button on Quad City quite yet. Like TJ said, I think they're going to work their way through this as soon as the quarterback gets back, even if it is 2-3 weeks down the line. The good news is that they built themselves in a cushion, right? So they can kind of deal with weathering the storm on some of these injuries and then eventually, kind of getting back to where they were at and hopefully finding some rhythm down the line. But next big piece of news from the IFL is San Antonio made another move at quarterback, another couple moves actually. And this one shocked me. After they released Malik Henry a couple weeks ago, I just assumed Guy Myers was their guy. He was going to be the starter the rest of the season. But it actually turns out that they have now released him and brought in a quarterback that was previously with Iowa who was released because he was throwing a lot of interceptions. Now it looks like he's going to be the guy in San Antonio, either that or Zach Reeder, formerly of the Barnstormers as well, and spent some time with a whole bunch of teams actually. He's been with a couple different teams. I don't even know where to go on this one. Chris, I know you got some thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way San Antonio had done Guy Myers from day one had been questionable. I don't think they really ever believed that he was going to be their starting quarterback. And I say that because, as a coaching staff, you have a duty to give every player a fair evaluation, right? And so they put Guy Meyer in a situation where they brought him in, and then they brought Ed Crouch in, and Ed Crouch, obviously, there was rumors he's going to come to camp, and then ended up going to Washington after. But Ed Crouch, and then after a week, like not even 4 days, they bring in Malik, and then Malik is the starter. He's balling out, and then they cut Malik for whatever reason. It still doesn't make sense to me why they cut him. I think if he was still playing, they would be, they would have a winning record right now, honestly, in my opinion. And then they bring in Guy. Guys really struggles the first week passing the football. He did, John Myers is the lead runner. He ran the football really well. I think he averaged like 5.7 yards per carry. So he had a good time on the ground with it. And then the next game, they started Zachary Reeder, which made no sense. Because I was like sitting here, I'm like, oh, this guy probably hurt. Like, that's why he's not starting. No, they started Reeder. He comes out the gate, throws 2 picks. We know what Reeder is. We've seen him play before, right? And then no disrespect to him, it's just he's not a level of passer, right? Like, there's levels, there's tiers. And I think Guy's a tier ahead of Reeder for sure. And so then they put Guy back in at halftime. No, not at halftime, beginning of the second quarter. And then it's like he's getting adjusted. And I thought he played a great game. He made some good throws, especially like those posts. He threw a couple good posts. So I was really impressed with how he played. I think he finished with like 3 total touchdowns. And I like they found their guy. Now they're going to move forward with him. And for them to cut him, it's like they don't value like consistency at that position, it seems, anymore. And it's going to be hard for them to win. I love Coach Fuller, so it's like hard for me to see, but it's going to be hard for them to win long term if they keep moving like that.
No, I completely agree. I mean, if there's one position on the field that you want some continuity at, it's quarterback. And between the changes at the coaching staff and then also the changes at quarterback, you've had a lot of turnover all of a sudden really early in the season. But TJ, what are your thoughts on this? As a former coach, do you see any reason why they're moving on from Guy Myers?
Well, I mean, I can give you firsthand experience of being with with a not so great team who also was switching players left and right. And it's, a mix of urgency. It's a mix of fear of continuing to lose. But ironically, like you touched on, the more inconsistent you are from week to week, the more likely you are to lose. And they've done the worst thing in terms of consistency, which is your two main positions, if you will, on the team, head coach and quarterback. So there is none. You know, I just I look at them and I honestly I do see a little bit of my time with the Steelhawks going on where it's just, they just keep kind of hoping they can just plug and play, different guys and it'll make a difference. In my opinion, they should have stuck with Myers. That was probably their best course of action from my vantage point anyway. But yeah, they're losing, they're trying anything they can to win, and sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing and just try to grow the core that you have.
No, that's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, obviously, when you mean do nothing, you don't necessarily mean make no adjustments, but make no roster adjustments. Stick with the team you've got, build from there. So just to clarify that on that. But no, I completely agree. I mean, on the surface, and I don't know this for sure, but on the surface, to me, this looks like a money move. We saw Coach Manas be let go, and there was rumors, whispers, speculation that maybe it was due to the fact that he was spending a lot of money on the roster. I don't know that to be true. I don't know that to be untrue. It's just something that was said. With that in mind, you have to wonder if you cut a guy like Malik Henry, you cut a guy like Guy Myers because they're probably making a good amount of money. And you bring in a guy like Zach Reeder, who really doesn't have that same resume, who probably isn't making nearly as much money. And then you move on to a guy who is a rookie as well. Again, probably not making a ton of money. So I almost wonder if San Antonio is starting to cut salary to bring it back down to where a more manageable number. And I can't even begin to blame them. They were probably I would have assumed they were one of the higher payrolls in most of the IFL. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any more moves to come after this. They've already made, a handful of big name moves. So I'm curious to see if, maybe this is leading up to something. They bring in another quarterback down the line, or they just are, rolling with the guys that they have now, and it is a salary cut. But it's going to be an interesting to follow them and see exactly what they're doing here. But moving on, there's another move that I wanted to highlight, which I thought was very interesting. A couple weeks ago, there was a mass exodus of players from the Corpus Christi Tritons due to, non-payment issues and some other things that have been happening behind the scenes. One of those guys was Jerron McGraw, a wide receiver and very explosive kick returner, who has signed with the Quad City Steamwheelers following the kind of the dissolution of the roster as it sat to begin with. But Chris, what are your thoughts on the addition of Jerron McGraw to Quad City?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jerron McGraw, he played with Quad City in 2021. I think he's a really elite kick returner. I think he's really good. I remember watching him in person multiple times. He's a good dude too. So he was with the Minnesota Myth last year. So he, hasn't really had a great experience with the AFL. So I think he's, back in the IFL, back somewhere where he feels comfortable. And I think that's a huge move for him to come back, and a huge move for Quad Cities. You get him and Daquan Dudley, together. I think the possibilities are endless for that special teams unit, especially that return unit. So
definitely agree. That's a lot of speed on the field. So defenses are definitely going to have to respect that and maybe play a little bit more off coverage on those guys. But it'll be interesting to see how they work in. TJ, what are your thoughts on this move and how he fits in with Quad City?
I love it because, special teams is often a forgotten, 1/3 of the team. But here, especially, with injuries to the quarterback and everything else, I love it because how do you help potentially a struggling offense with the absence of starters on offense. You get a good kick returner who can make those explosive plays, who can possibly return a few TDs, who can easily return, 15, 20 midfield off kickoffs. I think it was a great move, and it's going to be almost like a weapon, when they get fully healthy and get ready for that. Again, we're assuming playoff push because they did start off with a good 6-0 cushion. So I really like it. It's explosive, and I just, again, being a former special teamer, I like seeing stuff like that.
I do as well. I think a lot of teams seem to discount the kick return game. But realistically, field position is a huge deal when it comes to the indoor football leagues. It's only a 50-yard field. You get a 20-yard return, all of a sudden you have 30 yards to go for a touchdown. And this happens quite often with the teams that have prepared accordingly. So, I think to sit here and sleep on any facet of the game when, there's such a smaller margin of error or explosion, then I think it makes a lot of sense to kind of focus on the kick return game and keep field position in mind. Flipping the field is a big deal. So we have one more subject when it comes with the IFL, but we're going to hit a quick commercial and see if we can't bring on our guest and get their opinions as well. All right, you can't see him, but you'll be able to hear him, and it'll be a familiar voice in the indoor football world. How's it going this morning, Ralph? You're muted, buddy. There we go.
Am I on screen now? I can't tell. Can't see myself on screen.
You're not on screen, no.
Good. Yeah. For this purpose of this, I'm Raymond J., and I'm the host of IFL Talk, a brand new talk show that we're doing on Monday nights. And the point of that is to give fans who don't have a team, don't have a show, don't have a place to give their opinion on anything, a place to have their opinion, because the show is not about my opinion. It's about theirs. It's about the fans.
Love it. Definitely need some more fan-centric shows in the world. I think that's a great addition. Real quick, before we go forward, I wanted to get your opinions on a couple subjects, and we'll kind of rework from the top. But Quad City, started off 6-0. They're now 6-2. What is your opinion of their slide as of late? And do you think they recover when Daquan Neal comes back from injury?
I think you're absolutely correct that Daquan Neal's absence is hurting the team. It shows how important a quarterback is. With a quarterback that knows the offense and is able to function, all things are possible. Lacking that piece in a confident position, it seems a team is always going to struggle. I'll compare them to another team that never was on track this year. The Gunslingers, they have gone through, they had 3 quarterbacks in camp, added 2 more. All 5 of those are gone, and the 2 names on the roster were not there on week 1. And you just can't plug in a quarterback and expect immediate results. So Quad City is kind of dealing with it. I would think if Daquan Neal stayed absent, that the team would adjust, because they have the talent, and it seems like every year out of the East there's a surprise, and it seems like this might be Quad City's year. if they can recover. And with the return of Neal, I think that's extremely likely.
Certainly seems like the slide has coincided with his injury, so it would not shock me to see kind of a resurgence from them. Also, our next big subject of the day, and I think this is one that hits close to home for you in particular. Guy Myers was released. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why I go as Raymond J, because that's my radio name, and the other character is a paid employee of that organization, so I'm not allowed to have that opinion. However, as Raymond J, that was, I think what is going on is accountability. If you're not getting the results, the Gunslingers are very, very proud of their facility and proud of the fact that they think that people want to play there, and they're right. People do want to come to San Antonio like they want to come to Vegas, like they want to come to Arizona, places that have dedicated or nearly dedicated facilities, because you both know the life of a minor league professional football player, minor league athlete, is not one that most people would choose. And there has to be a motive for that. And the motive is there, but counting on that motive, living in less than desirable hotels, eating the same meal every day, having to travel around town for physical therapy, then go somewhere else for film, changing in the parking lot of a high school to get ready for practice and then post-practice. It's just not fun. And the places that have dedicated facilities have a distinct advantage at the same dollar price point. So that's why. Now, Guy Myers, I'm not sure exactly why, but that was surprising, because you would think third game is when things start to click and things start to come together. And it seems like just when the Gunslingers are on the cusp, they're asking for a new hand, and that's going to delay, like we talked about with Quad City. It's going to delay their development, and I'm not so sure if this is a throw in the damn towel moment that on this season. It almost feels like it. Sure, there's a lot of games to go, but I mean, we're 6 games in, and you still don't have a quarterback.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's 6 games in and you don't have a quarterback.
Completely agree. That's got to be a concern, especially if you are a San Antonio Gunslingers fan. But something tells me they'll get the ship righted one way or another. I'm a huge fan of James Fuller as a head coach. I think he'll get it figured out, whether it's sometime this season or in time for 2026, assuming he keeps the full-time job. One more subject that we're going to hit on as a group here. One more subject I haven't asked you about. Former Corpus Christi wide receiver kick returner Jerron McGraw was signed by Quad City. How big of a boon do you think that'll be for them?
Well, it depends on who they're returning against. The rule about being able to kick the ball out of bounds and always get it to the 20 is how you can completely nullify any kick returner that is back there, is you just flat out don't kick it to them. And a lot of teams go for that because there's 2 reasons. One, it's predictable. You know they're going to start on the 20. It's not the best. As you had mentioned earlier while I was in the green room, field position on a kickoff is huge. What that also means is your guys that are out there on defense aren't going to have just sprinted down the field full speed. And so they're going to start that defensive series fresh. And that is a lot of the reasons why the kicking game kind of goes out the way it does, where these guys could be trying for deuce, but they're not really. They're just trying to get it out the back line. So kick it hard, kick it generally straight. And if it goes over their head, great. It's only if you have a commitment to making a play on the kickoff, and that's the kicking team deciding to make a play, do you try to make a play? Otherwise, you just kick it away.
Makes perfect sense to me, and I like the point you made about the defensive guys not having just run down on kickoff, so they're not gassed or anything like that at the moment. Final subject for everybody involved here, and then we'll move on to NAL before we get to the AF1. When will NAS get their first win? Currently, they sit 0-6. They've got a tough schedule coming up. In fact, I'll pull it up here in just a moment. But let's go to TJ first on this one. When do you see Northern Arizona finding their first victory?
That's a good question. You know, I'm not sure. Who do they have? Here we go. Who do they have coming up? Well, it's not going to be against the Rattlers, I'll tell you that.
Yes, exactly. So they've got Arizona this week. Next week, they've got San Diego. They're in San Diego. Then you got Vegas comes to their house. Another tough game. Really, just like I said, a tough schedule coming down there. You got San Diego coming to Northern Arizona. Another tough game, although they should have a little bit better chance in that one. Cross-state rival Tucson Sugar Skulls, and they're away in that game. They host the Bay Area Panthers, another very tough game to win. Then they have bye week in week 17. Host the Tucson Sugar Skulls. That could also end up another loss, to be completely honest. Then they go to Vegas in week 18 and then finish off the season with San Antonio in San Antonio. So a really, really tough stretch here. Could definitely, as much as I hate to say it, see them going completely defeated without a victory. But go ahead, TJ.
Yeah, as someone who's been a part of a winless team, that's not something I hope for them. It is not fun, man, not fun. But I could see potentially against one of their games against the Sugar Skulls, maybe even the game against Vegas. They're two teams that play kind of 50-50. One week they're looking pretty good, the next week they can't get out of their own way. Maybe they sneak a win out of that. Maybe against the Wranglers, I believe it was at the end of the or the yeah, or their last game of the season.
Gunslingers.
Yeah, Gunslingers. Maybe against them the last week of the season, since it's looking like it'll probably be a pack 'em up game for both of them. Maybe then. I mean, but yeah, I agree with you. It could we could easily see them go winless, or we could easily see them maybe sneak out maybe 2 or 3 victories by season's end. It just really depends on how other teams play.
Agreed. Chris, what are your thoughts? You saw that schedule. It's kind of brutal down the stretch here. When does NAS get their first win in your mind?
I mean, if Cy Burley's calling the offense, they're not going to get a win all season. But I think they're probably, I would say maybe San Diego. That's their best bet. I don't think that offense in San Diego is too special, to be honest. I think they're really overrated this year. They haven't done anything great. But no. I don't think they'll win a game the rest of the year, to be honest.
Raymond J, what about you?
Two good possibilities. I would say the best or most likely, and I don't consider it very likely, would obviously to get the win in San Antonio, as you mentioned, as both teams are finishing out for the season. I would also say look very carefully at later games versus top teams in the West. Because if those teams have locked in a playoff spot and there's no way they're moving up and moving down based on their record, coaches, and it's huge in this game, coaches will not risk an injury to players going into the playoffs. And given the very small roster that you have, that impact is immediate and on the field. We saw this last year, and we see it, it seems, every year. If it is not a close race, if a team has the number 1 or number 2 position absolutely locked in and the results of the game don't matter, sure, it's very easy to see them picking up a win because losing to them isn't going to change your standing.
Great point. Great point. So to Krish's point, he said if Sai Burla is calling the offense here, it's going to be an issue going forward. 167 points scored in just 6 games. They are the lowest offensive output in the league currently. They're one of just 5 teams who have scored under 200 points at this point in the season, and they're averaging 27.8 points per game. The only team that's somewhat similar is San Antonio, who's played 7 games and averaging 27.7 points per game. So definitely could see that being a tough game later on in the season. This is just unexpected, to say the least. I knew that there was going to be some issues with the new coach coming in, new staff, new quarterback, all of that. But at the same time, I don't think anybody expected this paltry of an output down the stretch. But really appreciate your time this morning, Raymond. Hopefully we can catch you on your new show. Tell us a little bit about it before we get out of here.
Okay. Basically, the mantra of the show is it's not my opinion that counts, it's yours. The idea came up that there was just not a place for community. In the IFL, there was not a single location. Sure, we can all tune in when the commissioner does his updates. We can watch, but there isn't a place where community can come together outside of the somewhat toxic in-game chats, and that's not really the community that we wanted to form. So having a place where people could give their opinion and a consensus could build around that opinion, just like talk shows, local talk shows used to back in the day. I don't know if y'all remember listening to, and there'd always be some hothead with a hot take, and it'd be hilarious to listen how incredibly uninformed they are. And this still goes on. I mean, you've got NFL local shows all over the place where people call in and give their opinion like they know anything at all. And it's fun, but it builds a sense of community when you hear Doug from Georgetown call in and give his 25th take about how he's never wrong, even though he's been wrong all 25 times. And as soon as everyone hears Doug, they know immediately that he's wrong. And the fun part about this is I'm keeping it to first name and location, so you don't really know who's calling in. Or do you? Especially if you recognize the voice. So when the players figure this out, when the coaches figure this out, this is going to be a lot of fun because they're going to be able to call in and legitimately give a take. And I'm just looking forward to this. This could very well blow up and become something that's a lot of fun. And I'll tell you, I'm restricting it to IFL only because it's stable, it's there, it has a chance. If I broaden it out and make it all indoor, which easily we could, I wouldn't be able to keep up with and even be able to moderate it because I would not know, because I don't think it's possible to watch everything and understand everything and appreciate everything. But I appreciate you letting me on the show this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming. Always a pleasure to have you on today. Definitely would love to have you back on in the future.
Well, let me know. You apparently know the number to my agent.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So have a great rest of your day, sir. Enjoy the great day of football coming up. And we're going to transition over to National Arena League and bring on our next guest. Once again, thank you to Raymond J. from IFL Talk. I really appreciate you coming on today. Check out that new show coming on soon. And make sure you tune in, join in the conversation, get your hot takes aired out. I really think it's got a good premise for what they're doing there. Once again, thank you to Raymond J. And we'll go ahead and transition over to the National Arena League and bring on our special guest, running back David Ross from the Omaha Beef.
I'm just being myself, cool as can be. When I'm being myself, you wish you were me. It's so easy. Get out your own way.
Good morning, David. Thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So in case you guys are not aware of who this man is below us, he is a very hard-nosed running back with Omaha, was previously with Carolina, also something of an AAL2 legend coming out of the New Jersey Bearcats program. They talk about him all the time. I've heard his name a lot this season already. So really excited to have him on today. David, talk to me a little bit about your time in Carolina and what it's been like transitioning over to Omaha.
It was great. My time in Carolina was great. We had a great team. I mean, unfortunately, things didn't go the way we wanted to. But I'm just kind of, grateful that, I still have opportunity afterwards in Omaha. And, both organizations were amazing.
Absolutely. And it looks like your boss is tuning in. What's up, Ross? Don't be late for that workout. The Marines. Hey, TJ, thanks again for being the only one who picked Omaha last week. Gotta love that. So, TJ, obviously you're our resident Omaha fan. Do you have any questions for Mr. Ross here?
Absolutely, man. First off, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for being on the beef.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you think your experience, being from with the Bearcats, who's also historically been, a really solid franchise, always in the playoffs, now coming to the beef in ultimately in the NAL, who is also, recent champions, all the success. How do you equate that?
I mean, I learned a lot with the Bearcats as far as professionalism, I would say. Like with Coach Rogue, Coach Job, like those guys, they taught me a lot. Just on the professional aspect, how to act professional, how to be professional. They kind of get you ready for that next level, I will say, in the best way possible. And in Omaha, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, that's the place you want to be. It's a great organization, great people. Um, as an athlete, you just want to worry about football, and you can do that in Omaha. It's great.
Can confirm that team is as stable as it gets. Once again, not an Omaha beef show. Just happen to have respect for what they do over there. That's all.
Yeah.
But definitely appreciate your time this morning. Talk to me a little bit. I mean, I know you've played both ways in the past. What's it like focusing strictly on running back for you?
What was that question? I'm sorry.
I know you've played both ways in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong. You played some
Mhm.
linebacker in the past.
Yeah.
What's it like being able to focus kind of just on offense currently?
I like it a lot. I mean, even in Omaha, they moved me around. My first game really starting in Omaha, I was playing O-line. I was playing that tight end position. So they'll move me around just more or less on the offensive side of the ball. But I like it. I mean, I like being moved around. I like showing my versatility. My biggest goal right now is to just get to the highest level I can for football. That should be everybody's goal, playing this sport after college. But being able to show what you could do on the field for multiple positions, that's all what I'm about. So, it's great. I could just focus on the offensive side of the ball, I will say.
Do you have a position you prefer to play, or is it just kind of wherever you can get on the field?
I tell all my coaches this, it's just whatever you need me to do so we can win. Whatever I need to do to help the team win. So if I got to play O-line, I'll play O-line. If I got to play running back, I'll play running back. I'm a team guy. So, my preference though will be running back if I had to choose, but whatever our team needs me to play to win.
Love it. Chris, do you have any questions for David? He might have stepped away at the moment. TJ, any more questions for David?
Joining the beef, knowing coming into the season, knowing what the end goal is, this season, honestly, already with a loss for the first time in how many years, how did you come in knowing that you were pretty much being signed by kind of like the current dynasty of the NAL?
Well, at first, like if you were to, I tell everybody this: if you were to ask me 3 months ago, I'd be out in Omaha. I would say you're crazy. It's funny how it all works. But being there, being with the championship, organization, it's a big difference. The mindset's different. But it's easy, to adjust to it. When everybody has the same goal. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's 1 week at a time. So we all have the same goal. We're there for a purpose, so it's just day by day right now.
I love it. Speaking of day by day, you guys have a very interesting matchup coming up next week. Can you give us your thoughts on your next opponent?
I mean, I think every team in the NAL is great. With Arena, it's at any given Sunday. So, respect to their organization. I just think we got to just do what we need to do our jobs, and hopefully get out of there with a win.
Absolutely. And for anybody who's not aware, they'll be playing the Shreveport Rougarou. Honestly, one of the more interesting mascots throughout all of indoor football. Chris, do you have any questions for David?
Yeah, David, good to see you. I know it's been a while. My question for you is kind of talk about your relationship with Coach McGraw. He talks about you highly both on and off the field. How is your relationship with him off the field?
It's awesome. He's a great guy on and off the field. I respect him a lot. He is very truthful. He'll tell you how it is. Great coach and just great overall person. So, I love playing for the guy. So every time I step out in that field, I know he has my back and I got his back. So it's a great relationship. Awesome guy.
Refresh my memory. Did you join right before or right after the Beaumont game?
Beaumont was our first week there. When everything happened, that was our first game coming over.
Okay, that's what I thought. Talk to me about how Beaumont's done this year. I mean, obviously, I know you were with Carolina before. They were kind of the expansion team. No one quite knew what you were going to get from them. They had a very talented roster, obviously, but sometimes those things can look great on paper and not add up on the field. Talk to me about how tough they've been so far in your one experience, and then later on, I'm sure you guys will end up playing again.
I think they're a great team, great organization. When you play teams like that, it's going to be a dogfight. That's how you have to walk into the game, knowing it's going to be a dogfight. But I have utmost respect for that team and every other team in the NAL. For me personally, it's just, doing my job. Just got to go in there and do my job and, play some hard-nosed football.
Absolutely. Ricky Burt says the standard is the standard, and the standard in Omaha is to compete and play for championships. Glad to have Ross and everyone else here with Beef. It's been an interesting season for the Beef. Normally, not this much transition mid-year for them. However, they've continued to keep winning, so not a big surprise, to be completely honest, but it's definitely always interesting to see how a team can change head coaches, change quarterbacks multiple times, all kinds of different other positions, and still just keep rolling like they have. So, TJ, any final questions for David before we let him jump out of here?
No, man, I just want to wish both you and the Beef a great rest of the season, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Chris, anything else? I guess he stepped away again. David, thank you so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate you coming on and shedding some light on the Beef and your transition over there. Wish you guys the best of luck, and hope you and Coach McGraw find a lot of success the rest of the way.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Once again, that was running back David Ross of the Omaha Beef. Took the time out on his bye week to join us to come talk some football. We have a couple subjects to discuss before we move on to AF1. And I know, TJ, you probably need to get out of here at this point.
Yeah, either now or within a few minutes.
All right. Well, let me just ask you your question for the National Arena League. Idaho has been having some struggles as of late. They started off the season, hotter than last year. At least you can say that. But as of late, they've kind of stumbled. What are your thoughts? What's wrong with the Idaho Horsemen, and what would you do to fix it if you were the coach?
I mean, first and foremost, in my opinion, they have a lot of problems offensively. They're having trouble keeping or staying on the field, getting points. Quarterback play wise, I mean, they have a lot of turnovers through the amount of games that they've played, and I just, honestly, I think it's too late, unfortunately, for them for this year for them to do it. Uh, for them to make a comeback for the playoffs. They're in the national division, and right now it's a runaway with Omaha and Colorado. Right now they're sitting at 3-5. If they were in the American division, I would say they still easily had a shot to sneak in, since really it's just Beaumont running away with it, and everybody else is clumped down, at 3-3, 2-4. But given their division standings they're in, it's going to be a really tough ask for them to kind of pull off a miracle playoff run. I think they need to establish who is going to be their quarterback of the future. They need to get some offensive weapons. Defensively, they have a reigning defensive player of the year, but you need some more pieces around them. I think they really overall, I don't want to call it an overhaul, but they definitely need to upgrade at a number of different positions. And quite frankly, at this point in the season, I just don't see it happening this year. So I would look for them to lock and reload for next year, but they definitely have to bolster up the roster if they want to have a shot at the playoffs for next year.
I would agree. 1-3 down the stretch after winning back-to-back games in week 5 and 6. So obviously some issues there to figure out. One of those issues is how to beat Colorado, because they got smacked both times they played them, 49-0, and then also 68-20 last night. So definitely a rough stretch for the past couple of games for Idaho. Chris, what do you think the issue is there in Idaho?
I find it kind of crazy and a little hypocritical. If that was Mass, TJ would be shitting on us, right? So he gave Idaho a pass right there. Can we maybe address the elephant in the room, that Chris Reynolds might not be a competent pro head coach? Is that fine? I don't think that's an issue to say that at this point. I mean, this is not AWFC where, you play a bunch of washed up dads every other week. Like, at the end of the day, man, you're playing pro guys, and you have to respect the competition. And, I'll put them on blast. I sent him some players in the offseason, real good ones. D1 Kansas State. I sent him a guy from D1 Miami. I sent him, a couple big guys. He ignored me, right? So this is what you get. This is the product that you get, and I hope you're proud. I hope you're proud because I know the NAL is proud. I know Ricky Burton loved me every second of Idaho, every second, because apparently every team in the NAL is great. Come on, man. Really? Nah. It's, they beat Carolina, which was like a, financially Titanic team that players probably hadn't been fed that whole week, and they beat them. Yay, they wanted to party for that. Then they beat Shreveport, a team where 7 out of 8 starters for Shreveport got there the day of the game on defense, right? And they gave up 50 points. So, come on, man. We're just BSing ourselves. And there's no next year. This offseason was a time for him to make changes, and he can't call the offense. So he has to get an offensive play caller. He has to go out and get an offensive play caller this offseason if he's serious. But if he wants to continue to run a semi-pro operation, he can keep doing it himself. So that's it.
Chris, always with the hot takes. TJ, thank you so much for your time this morning, man. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next Saturday.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for always having me on. And I'm going to miss the AF1 segment, but go Billings.
Yeah, we got a running bet between TJ and I. I'm betting on Southwest Kansas. He's betting on Billings. So we'll see how things go. It's been a fun couple weeks talking crap back and forth. But TJ, man, thank you for your time. I appreciate you always coming on every week and look forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely, guys. Have a good weekend.
Catch you later, buddy. All right. So speaking of Carolina, you just mentioned a moment ago, one of the subjects that I did not have on the list is they recently came out with a statement that they are not only expanding the regions they will focus on in terms of sponsorship sales and fan engagement and all of these things, but they're also to the point where they have paid back all players that were owed money this season. Obviously, the biggest possible step you could have made toward getting back on the field eventually, and honestly, a great sign by them that they're making attempts to right past wrongs. The whole reason you would stick with the Cobras brand and not rebuild from scratch is the fact that you have name value there. So for them to sit back and start correcting that name value makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a great move. But overall, Chris, what are your feelings so far from how the ownership group has approached this offseason or this season?
I mean, I do appreciate them not going ghost. I think it's good from a business perspective for them to put out a statement to kind of update the fans. Like, yeah, Carolina will be back next year. It's just in what capacity. I think some of the statements they put out are completely AI generated. I'm just going to be real. Like, there was one statement they put out last week. I'm like, they put that in ChatGPT for sure. But, I think, I get the point, though. What they're trying to do is good. So I'm going to give them a point. Like, I think their intentions are good. And I really hope they move the team to, South Carolina, Spartanburg. I hope maybe we look at, Raleigh, North Carolina. There's a couple good options. North Carolina or South Carolina, that region deserves a football team. And I think they'll support it. It's just, Greensboro, I don't want to, talk bad about Greensboro because I enjoy my time there, but it's a very densely populated area. So I want somewhere bigger, somewhere more happening, and I think you could get a lot of people to support it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on the arena situation down in the North Carolina, South Carolina area at all, but if it were my advice, I'd definitely try to pick a bigger city as close to the border as possible between the two states. That way it would be easier for you to kind of play on both states for fans and then sponsor engagement as well. I mean, obviously that's the big thing here, is getting those sponsorship deals in place to help finance the season. So definitely something that I think they should look for going forward. A couple other subjects here before we close up shop on the National Arena League. Colorado wins their fifth straight, I believe. Fourth straight? I'd have to look back at this point. But Colorado continues to roll one way or another. All of a sudden, they look like they've found their momentum. Fifth straight, I apologize. So they're 6-2, sitting just a game back due to a loss from Omaha. So what are your thoughts on Colorado, Krish, and how do you feel about their performance over the last couple of weeks?
Can we just give Tony Thompson credit for Thursday night? The NAL didn't put out a statement, which I'm not surprised, but he coached Thursday night and he called offense and defense. That offense was turning when he was calling it. 68 points is crazy. So I think that's really cool that an owner can be multidimensional. I would love to see some other owners get on the field and call a game like, he did. So that's super impressive. First game to win by 48 that you ever coach. That should be, we should talk about that too. But no, trust me, that Colorado team, that defense is crazy. Isaiah Hall, that DB, he's the best team in the league. I think he has 8 picks at this point. Sam Hammond is dominant. Jack Robinson on that D-line, interior D-line, he's really good. Linebacker, Asai Scandy. I've been talking about Asai since week 2. I think he's a dog. So you got dogs all over the field. And then on offense, Blitz Woodley. He's someone up and coming, big receiver. I love the way he plays. He There's a lot of bigger receivers in indoor football, but they don't use their size a lot. He uses his size to his advantage. And I think he's a great piece. He's going to be a face of franchise one day for a team out there. So that team is so exciting to watch, and I really hope they beat Sioux City this week because I want to see the new school start to take over the league. I'm tired of seeing washed up, whatever. Like I want to see Omaha and Colorado for the National Division Championship. I think that will feed families for sure.
I would definitely be interested to see that. How's it going, Coach B? Thanks for joining us.
What's up, fellas? How y'all doing this morning?
Doing great. Thank you for coming on again. I appreciate your time this morning. I love that hat, by the way.
We goated, baby. We goated.
Yes, sir. So we will definitely have to talk some TAL here in a little bit. But what are your thoughts on Colorado? I mean, you've been there, you've done that. As far as a coach, you've seen how difficult it can be, and they somehow continue to keep winning games despite the fact that they haven't had their head coach with them.
Colorado, I give they props, like Chris said, for an owner to come down and call a game. That's huge. That was different. That was something we've never seen, and he proved a lot of naysayers wrong. I've been hearing that Colorado been having a lot of problems down there for a while, and it's crazy because from Romaine not coaching to now Shaw not coaching, you never know what's going on down there, and they fight adversity week in and week out. It's crazy that they was able to come out and pull out a blowout like that with a non-coach who is an owner. So I believe they are rolling. I believe they got something special down there. They just need to get some stability in their coaching staff.
Completely agree. It seems every other week we have a suspension for Shaw. I'm not going to sit here and say I've agreed with everyone so far, but that definitely is something to factor into all of this. Somehow this team is 5-0 over their last 5 games, despite the fact that, again, they haven't had their head coach for a lot of them. So kudos to that.
You guys know what's going on with that? Why he's been missing or what's going on?
Well, I know in the game that I went to when they played Wheeling, he was suspended. I don't recall how long that suspension was for. Chris, do you recall?
No, but at this point, I would have to guess it might be 2 weeks or for the rest of the season. I think, in my opinion, they should have suspended him after the first week because he was going crazy on the sideline, and they should have just done it for the bye and then a week after. So no practices. Some teams did practice during the bye, so no practices, and then a week after. That would have been fair. But I'm doing it now. I feel like he hasn't done anything out of line. I mean, not that I remember, to get suspended at this point. So it just doesn't make – the timing of it is a little off, especially when a team is making a playoff push. Come on now, really.
It might be some internal, you know what I mean? But he might not, like you said, he might not have done nothing now, but you said he has been doing stuff previous weeks, and it just caught up. Ricky and them take their time evaluating stuff. They had other stuff going on. They probably just caught up with it and put it out. But at the same time, this is second season that Shaw's been suspended multiple times. When is enough? We got to start holding coaches to the same standard. We want to hold players and owners as well.
No, that's a great point. And honestly, I mean, as a head coach, sometimes there's going to be moments where you're going to be hot. You're going to be upset, and you're going to want to chew out a ref and stuff. And sometimes I think you just need to hold back and bottle it up, because a lot of times it's not going to get you anywhere. And I think this is kind of proof in the pudding with the suspensions. I know the last one was kind of ticky-tack in my opinion, but when you've established a history of doing this stuff over and over and over again, you're going to be looked at more closely when it comes to potential suspensions and stuff like that to get the point across. So that is one thing that kind of, I think, needs to be pointed out, though. Colorado, for them to have the success that they've had as of late, despite that situation, is impressive and something that I wanted to point out. But what's just slightly more impressive is the run Beaumont's on right now. They seem unstoppable currently in the National Arena League, and they've beat every team they've gone up against so far. They are currently still undefeated, which is just I knew they were going to be good this season, but I don't think I saw this coming from them, but Chris, you did. To your credit, you've been talking about Beaumont all season long about how they were going to be one of the best teams. Here they are, undefeated. So, I mean, what did you see early on in Beaumont that made you so confident that they would be one of the best teams in the league? And, how has it gone as you expected, or is it even better than you may have expected at that point?
So, I remember I sat up here like 7 weeks ago when Beaumont played Omaha, and I said Beaumont's going to beat Omaha by 7 to 10 points, right? And I was the only one that said that. And then, you have Luke Miller and all them kind of jumping on the train, holding up the Beaumont flag. It's too late. So I was on Beaumont train way before. And I love Coach Mayfred. And I know what Coach B, he's told me about Coach Solo, and I've had interactions with Coach Solo, personally. And I like Coach Solo a lot. He's one of the best. People forget he's an IFL Hall of Famer for a reason. So he can teach the game at a high level. Like when you've seen so much, you can get back to the game. And so I have a lot of respect for Coach Solo and what he's doing with that offense. And Robinson, 24 total touchdowns. I said last week he's going to cook Wheeling in the D-line, and he absolutely did that. Over 100 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Zuri Davis, Zuri Davis, the CIF legend, and he's coming back at his age and doing it. And then we'll talk about the trades probably later, the 2 big moves they made. But, you got to give Sam Gordon credit, he really put this team together. And I remember he used to say back when he worked with the Pirates, like, if I have a chance to build a team, I'm building a championship powerhouse. And I just keep doing that. So.
I like to say Chris knows behind the scenes. I was an integral part of putting Beaumont together, helping them in the back end last year. When I was with the Rampage, I was also a consultant for the Beaumont Renegades, getting their team together. Me and Sam worked together. I helped build a front office with him. He's a hell of a guy. He knows what he's doing. He's very passionate. So I give props to Sam because what he told me he was going to do when we helped put this team together. He was trying to get in the AF1. He couldn't get in, but that's his goal.
Interesting. Would be curious to see exactly what happens with this team going forward. But Chris, you kind of prefaced it there. Let's talk about those trades. I mean, they made a couple big moves. They brought in Rashad Ridley and Denarius Antoine from Shreveport. I'm going to let you guys chat about this one. I need to step away for a minute.
I think, we look at it and we hear reports out of Shreveport, players not getting paid, players not getting fed.
I'm here, Chris. I just went to audio. I didn't even know that was going on. So
so it is going on. You won't hear about it from the NAL, obviously, but I think, there are problems in Shreveport, and I don't think, for me, from a PR perspective, we're not idiots. You know what I mean? You think Shreveport's just going to trade their 2 best players out of the blue like that, without anything going on? It's crazy.
It makes me wonder if it's more internal problems going on.
It is. Yeah, there's a lot of internal issues. Food vouchers, payment, everything, it's bad. It's bad up there. And so, I really hope they figure it out in Shreveport. That's a
quick question. Do you think they're going to finish the league?
They'll finish the season, absolutely. But will they be in the league next year? I don't think so. No.
Because all those future considerations, they have to come with something. So at the end of the day, they got to give up something at the end of the day for the.
Well, probably money. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave up the future considerations as payment. You can give up a trade in the NAL. You can trade for money considerations. So they might not have it listed as cash considerations, but they probably did that. They probably thought about it okay, if we give up Denarius, we'll get this amount of money. And I'm not saying it's $10,000. I'm saying maybe 1,000 or 800, to cover a couple player salaries. So.
Oh, that's what happened. You remember I made the first trade of AFL last year when I traded Mo Strong to Minnesota for cash considerations.
Yes.
So yeah, it's always a possibility. Just got to make it happen.
Exactly. And but I mean, if you look at the moves, I think Rashad Ridley is the most impactful, right? You get a big, speedy receiver for Beaumont, and we know how Solo loves to use speedy receivers. He had Javon Macon last year with ICT, so now you get
I
Rashad.
like the old boy number 2 was a speedy receiver down there in Beaumont to me.
Oh, Jermaine Neal, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I think they just added. I feel like they receiving core was good, and they just stacked it. Then I feel like you bring in a true linebacker because you got a good running back, and you use him when you're giving your other running back a break now. So now you get to see more of Denarius on the defensive side really dominating like he's supposed to, because he's really a strong safety playing linebacker. People forget that. He just make linebacker look good. He's a strong safety.
Yeah, I agree. And I know last week I said he was a liability at the linebacker position, but it's partly because of that. I think he also was carrying a big load in Shreveport, and the load in Beaumont is obviously less. They got a lot of defensive players. I mean, when you're playing next to Kawan Alfred, one of the best seasoned veteran linebackers in the league, I don't think it's too hard. So I think he'll be able to figure it out. D2
Not
and
even that. I think you got to forget. I had to go back and do my research after you said that last week. You got to forget, Denarius was the best linebacker in the was the number 1 linebacker in the CIF 2 years ago. So it ain't his play. It's him just doing too much in Shreveport because he led the CIF. He led it in tackles his rookie year.
yeah.
Yeah, and he played running back too for Billings. You forgot he was in Billings, and I don't know why Walker didn't bring him back. That was a crazy thing when we went AFL last year. But you got to realize he was the best linebacker on the field in the CIF 2 years ago. So I don't think it has nothing to do with what I'm saying, his linebacker play. I think he was just trying to do too much. He was focusing more. They was using him more on offense when he's a defensive player who can run the ball, and they forget that.
I think that's a good point. I think they were definitely trying to have him focus on offense, and he realistically is more of a defensive player than he is an offensive player, despite the fact that, when he was with Billings 2 seasons ago, when he won Defensive Player of the Year, he was playing running back as well. It was in spots. It wasn't the entire game. So that is something to consider.
Yeah, because remember he was second in the lead in rushing in Billings behind Jalen Jeffries, who's at Wyoming, who led the lead.
Yep, 100%.
Also, who's a Kansas City GOAT now, Jalen Jeffries.
Really?
St. Joe goes. So I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Interesting. I had not caught that. I'm glad to hear that. I'm a huge fan of him. Great dude. Talked to him a lot off camera and on camera back when we had the Gillette Mustang show. Obviously, it's been a little while since that happened, but we're going to transition over to the AF1 and start discussing some of the topics on that. But before we do, a quick commercial from one of our sponsors. I know you guys all hate it, but here it is anyway.
SeatGeek is the ticketing app for fans like Boomstick Lady. No free throw is safe from the roar of her sticks. SeatGeek helps her find a seat in the direct eye line of the shooter so she can sit where her boomsticks make the biggest boom. Everybody okay? SeatGeek handles the tickets to sports, concerts, and more, so fans can fan.
All right, we are back to talk some AF1. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in, who's stuck with us throughout this show so far. I know we're an hour in. We're going to be close to wrapping it up here soon. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button and share this stream with anybody you know who might be an indoor football fan. Hopefully they enjoy it too, and they can join us every Saturday morning. But more importantly, get in the comments, guys. We have a question of the day. Chris, if you want to reiterate that question of the day, we will get to that here shortly. And we actually have a really good guest to weigh in on that when we get to it.
Yeah, so my question of the day, Coach, we were talking about it earlier, is do you have to go out and get high-level players? Like, do you have to pay for higher-level players in order to win long-term in arena and indoor football?
Absolutely, and we will get back to that here shortly. But first, we are going to discuss the AF1 and some topics that are kind of big currently. But we're going to start off with the news that they've changed to a 4-team playoff. As of right now, there are only 8 teams in the league. So to be quite honest, 6 teams going to the playoff seems like a bit much. So they have transitioned over to a 4-team playoff. And I wanted to go ahead and get your guys' predictions on what teams you see in that playoff. So real quick, I'm going to pull up the standings, but go ahead and kind of give your takes so far.
I'm going to go with Albany. It's a toss-up after that. It's kind of crazy. I think Southwest Kansas can sneak in. Nashville. Billings. It's between Billings and Oregon for the Nashville and Oregon for the last spot. You got Albany, Southwest Kansas, Billings, and then Oregon and Nashville fighting. Oregon, Nashville, and Salina fighting for the last spot.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think it's Albany, Southwest, Nashville, and Billings. Those are my 4, pretty locked in. I like Coach Jones. I like what he's building in Oregon, but I don't think their O-line is, up to par yet in order to be a competitive playoff team. So I think, your O-line wins and loses you games, and I think Nashville has a superior O-line right now. So I like those 4 teams, and I've been locked in on those 4 teams for a while. So I really do like those 4 teams.
Yeah, I think to me it's pretty cut and dry. It's going to be Albany, Southwest Kansas, Nashville, and Billings in that order. I really like what Nashville's been able to do over the past couple weeks. Southwest Kansas is rolling. They looked like they might not have their quarterback this week, but he came back from the UFL already. So went and took a quick vacation in the UFL and came back just in time to lay a whooping down on Billings. TJ, I hope you're listening. But should be a great game later on today. I'm excited for that one. And then obviously Albany is as close to a lock as it can possibly be at that number 1 seed at this point. They have just rolled through teams this year, so I'm curious to see how they finish the season, which actually brings me to my next question. Can Albany finish the 2025 season undefeated? And real quick, I'll transition over the schedule here so we can look at what they've got going on the rest of the way. But overall, I mean, what's your just general feeling, just on the surface? Can they go undefeated the rest of the way?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Robert McCoy is a young quarterback. He's a rookie, but I love Robert McCoy. I think he has a ton of talent. He's a little inaccurate throwing off his back foot, but I think give Robert McCoy, a full off season, he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in this AF1, man. I'm a huge Robert McCoy guy. But no, I mean, Corpus Christi, man, like that's a bunch of, dead skeletons running around. Like, I don't have any faith in them to win anything going forward. I mean, getting Richie Anderson for them is huge at the slot, but he's only one player. And, Fred Payne you saw Fred Payne, like he didn't look good. I do have to say, I was kind of impressed. I think their O-line actually played decent on Monday night. So, give them props there, but they won't be able to compete with Albany. Albany is going undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah. They played them twice, right? The last 2 games is them, right?
No, they play Corpus Christi and then Washington.
Yeah,
that's a win too. They gonna beat Washington. So yeah, they go undefeated.
Yeah, honestly, I did not realize they only had 2 games left, so that's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs shake out, especially with only 4 teams. You've got multiple teams playing different amounts of games. Albany's only playing 10 games. I think Nashville is going to be 9 or 10. It's going to be so interesting to see how these playoff seeds work out at the end here. I mean, how do you take away, a higher seed from a team that's played 12 games for a team that's played, say, 10 games? I mean, it's just there's going to be some interesting, tricky situations to
And look
work
at it,
out.
Salina only played 7 games, so they getting the short end of the stick.
To a certain extent, yeah, to a certain extent. But they also have, a tail end of the season here where they don't have a bye, so they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 more games coming up, so they'll be at 11 by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think they got a chance they might can win out because Sawed Off is hot, and when he get hot, he don't stop.
That's fair. That's fair. It's going to be interesting. A couple comments here off the walls tuning in. Thanks for sharing the stream, man. I really appreciate it. Feels like we're setting up for Albany Billings 3 in the first round of the playoffs. I agree, and honestly, that would be a great opening. Great way to open the playoffs. Adam says, "Let's go Outlaws." So he obviously has them in the playoffs. Albany versus Washington is going to be a bloodbath. Drop your predictions in the chat on who you think ends up in the playoffs this upcoming season, or this upcoming stretch with only 4 games remaining. So
I think Albany plays Billings first round, Southwest plays Nashville, and you'll see Albany versus Nashville in the championship. My predictions.
All right, fair enough. Sounds pretty reasonable. Next subject at hand is this new looks Billings offense. Billings has all of a sudden brought in a new quarterback. Obviously, as we all know, Malik Henry is now with the Billings Outlaws. They have been rolling since he was signed. They've found some momentum here as of late. They've found a lot of success as of late. Even though it hasn't necessarily looked polished at times, they've scored a ton of points since he's come over. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about that addition for Malik Henry in Billings? And then also, how do you think that affects their outlook going forward?
I watched the interview. Great interview with Malik. Chris put me up on it. I didn't get a chance to catch it at first, but then I went back and watched it. And man, what that kid went through, he be grinding. And he's a baller. And then I didn't even know about the stats until Chris posted the stats. So that's unbelievable. But what he had to go through this season from a team folding, a week before the season starts. Then you're going down to San Antonio and it just don't go in your favor. Which you got a loaded team. And I feel like San Antonio the last 2 years has underachieved for some reason, and they have all the tools and necessities possible. I think that's one of the best ownerships in indoor football, and they provide every coaching staff with everything you need. So and the players. So I just feel like it come down to X's and O's down there, and it just wasn't getting done, and it still hasn't. I don't think right now. But going to Billings, like he said, he's comfortable out there. It's a different vibe. It's all football. You can't do nothing but play football and be a professional out there. It's no live light. It's not Los Angeles, California. It's none of that. And he's enjoying himself. He's having fun. He's getting back to enjoying the game of football. And when someone loves the game of football, that's your sanctuary. You just ball out. So I think that's crazy, honestly. With the Arizona situation he went through, man, that is the second year straight that we went through that with AFL teams doing players and the lead like that. And I sometimes everybody want to blame the lead and say you got to vet these owners and stuff like that. No, that's not it. It's sometimes these owners have to do what they signed up for and hold themselves accountable. and we're not holding these owners accountable. And you know, I went through it last year, and my owner was a big money guy, flashing around money. I seen him spend $50,000 at the casino in Council Bluff, but we didn't have the tools or necessities we need when it came game time. Couldn't pay payroll. I actually talked to the owner of Arizona, and Chris can vouch for this. They were trying to hire me as the head coach, and he kept telling me after league meetings, "I'm gonna give you a call." I mean, I got a text message showing he was gonna give me a call back and give me a call back, and I was talking to some other people. They said that's red flags. When somebody doesn't do what they say, when they're gonna say they're gonna do it, that's red flags. So it was red flags for them from the jump. And I think it was more so he was trying to solidify his arena and other things, and he couldn't do that. And instead of telling people and getting help, he just was trying to do it himself, because I think that was the perfect setup down there. I don't care about the Rattlers. I don't care about NAZ. I don't care about Tucson being down there. That was the perfect setup where they were at.
That's fair. That's fair. And you have a good point. Malik's been through a lot this season. And I also want to issue him an apology. It sounds like we talked about some things that were rumors last week about him and Malik. Him and Darius Prince having issues. He has come out and said that is not the case, and then said that was some lazy reporting. I would have some things to say about lazy reporting, but the rest of that I can completely understand. I mean, hey, if it's not true, it's not true. That's one of those things where we don't necessarily need to spend a lot of time on it, but just wanted to get that out there. Apparently there is no issue between him and Darius Prince. So just for anybody who might be curious about that, that is what he had to say about it. So we're going to move forward with AF1, talk about a couple other subjects here, including...
Can I just get one thing in? No, he was an absolute, pleasure to interview this week, man. Like, he's that guy, honestly. Like, he's so down to earth. He's so humble. And, like, he's one of the best interviews I've ever done. I told him that, too. Like, I really enjoyed talking to him. He's someone that, a lot of guys, like, they put on this persona for social media and they try to act like there's something they're not. Malik is 100% authentic, and I think that's why people follow him and they like him. And he is like the perfect leader for that organization. He's any organization. Like I said, if I was starting a team today, I would get the car dealership in town to give him however much money he wanted to come and be my starting quarterback, because he's the only quarterback that I want, to be my franchise, face of the franchise. Because he's that guy, man. Like, I love Malik, and I can't wait. And I think Coach Thomas is one of his victims tonight. So I can't wait. So my boy's ready. He's going off tonight. So
that's from Southwest Kansas fan Krish over here.
I'm a Look Billings fan, man.
Yeah. Okay.
I got an Arizona shirt when Malik signed with Arizona. Wherever Malik goes, I'm a Malik fan. So Malik fan.
Oh, wow, Chris.
Krish flips teams like everybody else changes underwear. I'm just saying. Every other week, he's got a new favorite team and a new team he's rooting for. We this, we that. But anyway, we'll transition to my last subject. Speaking of that Southwest Kansas and Billings game, Jalen Morton's back. I touched on it just a moment ago. He spent a cup of coffee over there with Birmingham, and ultimately returns right back after a week with Birmingham and making some decent money in the UFL. How does that change your thoughts? Obviously not much, but how does that change your thoughts on this game, Krish?
I mean, a lot, right? Like the fact that who was Southwest Kansas' backup, Jarius Grissom, I think. Like, the fact that they were about to go in the game with him starting at quarterback would have been so funny. I think they would have lost by like 50 if he was starting. They would have lost by 50 if he was starting at quarterback. Grissom, I mean, that guy, I told you, that guy can't throw a 5-yard out to save his life. But he's not a quarterback, too. So, just like, no offense to him, he's not a quarterback. I think he's like, I like Jalen, right? I think he's a great quarterback. I think he's, but I look at the numbers, right? 44% completion percentage, 12 picks. Like, he has turned over the ball. this is what I'm comparing this matchup to tonight between him and Billings, right? Jalen Morton is Cam Newton, and Malik Henry is Drew Brees, right? Malik is the father, and Jalen is the son. That's the difference between the two. So we're about to see that tonight.
All right, buddy. Whatever you say. Weren't you on Jalen Morton at the beginning of the season? Just wanted to recap.
No, I'm a huge Jalen Morton fan, but he's a rookie, man. He's going against the master tonight. So
Okay. Just recapping because it flip flops a lot around here. Just making sure. But Coach B, what are your thoughts on this Southwest Kansas game now that their starter is back and it won't be quote unquote not quarterback Jairus Grissom playing quarterback?
I think that gives them a little more help, but it's not going to be enough to beat Billings. And when I say, like, I don't care what nobody say, DP, all of them are hot out there. So, and Coach Walker, when you can't let Coach Walker get too hot because he finds a way to scheme. And it comes down to coaching, and I think that's what we're going to see tonight. It's going to come down to coaching. And I think we know who's going to win that battle at the end of the day. AFL.
Definitely. It's going to be a great game tonight, regardless. So I'm looking forward to it. Adam says bandwagoner, and Off the Wall says Krish cutting WWE promos on behalf of these teams. Isn't that the truth? Krish is constantly cutting promos for somebody, that's for sure. We're going to play one more quick commercial, and then we'll talk some TAL. And then we'll wrap up.
Do you have our picks for today? Our betting lines?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. In fact, we'll do that next. Let me hit that commercial, and I'll get all prepared for us. We'll talk about our betting sponsor.
Get in the game at BetUS, America's favorite sports book. Over 50 sports, live betting, online casino, horse racing, esports, and more. Start now and enjoy easy deposits, fastest payouts, and the biggest bonuses. And for over 25 years, BetUS is a name you can trust. Mention TV 150 now and get up to 150% in bonuses. BetUS, we've got your game. Call or visit BetUS.com now to join.
All right, so we're going to talk about our betting segment real quick. And that is, of course, our locks of... All right, and as you can see, we've got DraftKings pulled up. So if you want to bet on the IFL, make sure you go check out DraftKings. They have all the indoor football league betting odds. You can do parlay bets, all the fun stuff that you want to do. So, Krish, what's your lock of the week here?
Massachusetts minus 2.5. Come on now. I know people are going to say we played bad last week. On offense, we didn't look too good. But I'm telling you, Kenji Bahar, he's learning the game. And it's going to take time. But we are the best running back in the league. I don't think there's any debate that Puka Williams is the best running back in the league. And, our defense gave up 34 points. I expect our defense to give up under 30 this week. And I think we win by 2.5. So that's my lock. I'll just go down the page if you're okay with that. We'll start up Indy plus 7.5. I love that. I love Indy plus 7.5. Jacksonville's run defense is kind of weak. I think last time I checked, I think they're allowing over 4.5 yards per carry. So their run defense is a bit weak. San Diego and San Antonio. I like San Antonio plus 3.5. I love that DB room for San Antonio. I know they haven't played up to par at some points, but man, I think Christopher Page, again, he was the best DB in the NAL in 2023. I think he's finding his stride and getting better and better each week. Clinton Duck, he's having a breakout year. Green Bay and Iowa. I like Iowa plus 6.5. Vegas at Arizona. Give me the under. And then, for us, I just like the minus 2.5 for us. So.
Gotcha. That's one bandwagon Chris will never jump off of, just so we're all clear here. He is a Mass fan to the core, so we can't give him that little bit of respect on that. I will say that. Sorry, I just had to point that out. But we'll go ahead and transition over to the AF1 betting. I actually do not feel very strongly about any of these games on the IFL side. I'm not an avid bettor, to be completely honest with you guys. I literally put in like $5 in my account like a month ago, and I've been playing on that back and forth, continue to win and lose. So I have no real great record. But I mean, if I was going to bet on anything this week, it'd probably it would probably be Massachusetts, actually. I mean, that is a pretty good lock there. I don't think Northern Arizona is going to be able to beat them. And right now, to say that Northern Arizona is going to keep it within 2.5 points, I just don't think that's the reality of the situation. Off the Wall says over under Bahar completion percentage versus Naz 50%. Chris, do you want to weigh in?
No, Trey. You know what? Nah. Let's have this conversation. I know you've been on Kenji's ass all season, and I agree. I think Kenji, he's been off at times. I'll be the first one to admit it, but he's a rookie at the end of the day, and it takes time for every rookie to learn this game, and I'm really liking certain things I see out of his game. I think last week was a step back for him, and I was kind of disappointed. He went 9 for 29, and I was shocked by that. I thought he was progressing, but he's in a new offensive system, and we need to just figure out how we can get him, just quit the ball out of his hands quicker. We need more intermediate stuff. We need to get him more active because he made one throw across the middle on 4th down and 12, and it was right in the bucket, in between two defenders, and, just, little outside. But I've seen improvements in him in so many ways, even as a leader. Like, I like Kenji Bahar a lot, and I really hope we can, neutralize him and just turnover-free football. Like, that's all we have to play. He just has to make the throws because he had the receivers, he had the line, he had the running back. Just got to make the throws. So, no, I see why. I see why you're hard on him, though. Like, I don't blame you. Like, they're just, being, giving him a fair analysis. And, he does have to play better, without a doubt. It's on, at the end of the day, it's come down to quarterback play. We need him to be at his best. But I expect a big bounce back from him this week, for sure.
That is fair. We shall see. That Naz defense has struggled as of late. So here's the AF1 bets on Bettor's Edge. Once again, just a friendly reminder, Better Edge is more of like a third-party betting conglomerate where you can essentially bet against your peers, peer-to-peer betting. And so if you do not see a category that is lit up blue, I believe there are no bets as of now. Yeah, so if it's blue, there's bets. If it's gray like this, there are not bets. And that does make it tough at times to actually bet on games if you wanted to bet certain things. So just keep that in mind. Hopefully this platform can grow over the next, the rest of the season and get to a point where there's more frequent availability on specific line items. But what are your feelings on this game? And then we'll look at the Sunday game.
Like I said, man, like Malik Henry's 1-1. And, last time he played Coach Thomas, he beat him 32-28 back in 2018 on September 30th. So, I expect him to repeat that and beat Southwest this week. I love Southwest. I love the program Coach Thomas has built. I think they lose this game tonight, but they win out. They beat Solana twice. I'm sorry, Coach O, but I think they beat Solana twice, and I think they beat Washington, and they finished the season 8-4. But, Southwest Nation, man, y'all about to take this out tonight. Malik's going to have a great night. I expect him to throw 4 to 5 passing touchdowns. DP's hot. And not even just DP, my other guy, Duffy, Moore, like they got a ton of weapons. So Michael Lawson will be able to cover DP pretty well. But other than that, Malik's going crazy tonight. So give me Billings -3.5. That's my lock of the week. And I love the under. Under will make you a ton of money. So take the under for sure. Oregon and Washington, I think this is self-explanatory. I like Coach Wells, but Oregon -6.5. That offensive line is horrible. That offensive line is really bad for Washington. It doesn't matter who they have at quarterback. you can have Aaron Rodgers back there, and he won't be able to do shit with that O-line. I want us to start asking questions about the O-line, D-line coach for Washington, and Kurt Stevens, former ICT regulator. It's his first year coaching first year coaching the O-line, D-line. I mean, he's had that unit has had real trouble all year. So, yeah, I love give me Oregon -6.5. That's a lock.
All right, and those are your locks of the week. I'm sorry, Coach B. What did you want to add there?
No, I was just saying Chris went in. He didn't hold back this time.
Never does. That's what we love about him, right? This is the Shady Sports Network version of Stephen A. Smith. So once
I'm
again,
not Stephen A. Man, I'm accurate. Like everything I say, I think a lot of coaches, owners, they're just jealous of me because I spit facts and I know my shit. So that's it.
I don't think they jealous of you, Chris. I think sometimes when you speak your opinion, a lot of people don't like everybody to voice their opinion in a certain way, and you don't hold back. You very straightforward, and you don't sugarcoat it, and that's what we need instead of sugarcoating. But we got a lot of that in the indoor football game. Just be straightforward with people, and the game will be well off. We wouldn't have a lot of folding. We wouldn't have a lot of this going on in different places.
You have a good point. You have a good point there. Speaking of stability, we're gonna transition over to the TAL, which honestly, you can't say enough about how they've set up this league for success over the future. I really think that they've got a stable foundation and they're doing it the right way. One of the buzz terms that you always hear with the IFL is sustainable growth. Well, it looks like the TAL has heard that message loud and clear, and they are specifically trying to build out 2 teams rather than too many teams, which I think is a great move. But Coach B, I mean, you're part of one of the organizations that rolled through the league last year with the St. Joe Goats. Talk to us a little bit about the transition over to being called St. Joe's, and then also St. Joseph, and then also the rule changes, because I know that we're transitioning over to 7-man football in 2025. You're muted.
7-man football. I think it still gives you that flavor of the 6-man, but you get to add another player, and that's of your choice. So you get to play around with who you're gonna bring in there and do with what. I think the transition from KC to St. Joe was very smooth. It's 30 minutes away. A nice arena. A lot of our state tournament basketball games are played in that arena. It's very welcoming city. That's where the Chiefs have training camp at every year. You got Missouri Western University down there, college town. And it's a great environment. I think we're gonna sell out the place. We're gonna have fun down there, and like you said, the TAL doing it the right way, little by little, inch by inch. That's how you play the game of football.
Completely agree. I do have one complaint, and maybe you can pass this to the right people. Can we get the website updated, please? Just small thing. I know it's a small thing, but
I'll pass it on to the owner.
Just small complaint, because honestly, I'd rather the football be quality. I'd rather the teams to be stable. I'd rather the streams be decent, and all that stuff seems to be on point. So they definitely got the things that matter. They've got their ducks that matter in a row for that, what it's worth. But I'm interested to see the 7-man football. I mean, I've heard that some teams will try to use a center as that 7th player. I've heard some teams will kind of transition and focus on another tight end type player on the field. Is that 7th player technically eligible as a receiver? Still muted.
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. So that changes a whole lot then. Interesting to see how that'll work out for sure. Chris, you got any questions about the TAL currently? I can't think of any other big news.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited for TAL. We talk about it all the time, but let's just talk about Coach Tony O'Neill. You can write a book on that man this offseason. He is one of the most interesting people I've ever met in this indoor arena space. I think, I don't know, I checked my phone. I think we're on good terms, but we might not be. But like, I don't know. I think like I know Coach Tony, man. Like he's a good dude. He's emotional, but he loves his. Coach Tony. One thing I respect about him is like he loves his players to death. Like on a personal level, and I think Coach B, you can also understand this too. Like he loves his guys. And for him, like when you have a coach that loves their players so much, like he does, like for him, I think it's not like about the football. It is about the football, but like it's off the field too. If any of his guys are ever like in trouble, I feel like he would be there to help.
It's about the overall game with T.
Yeah.
And I personally know Coach T, love him. I can honestly say stand up guy. When we came in last year, I hit him on the phone. Hey T, we here. We got in late. Where can I get something to eat? This man got up out his bed and brung us food and said, B, it's on me. I love you guys, man. He plays semi-pro football against Dorsey and them. And I watched T play with one of my best friends that played at Northern Iowa. You know what I'm saying? So he is a stand-up guy. When he say he's going to do something, he do it. When he say he going to compete, he compete. Every week he going to give you the best of him. And he ain't going to sugarcoat it.
No, and I agree. And like, they got a good program. I know my boy Ben McCoy, like the work we do over at the program. And I know Ben McCoy built a monster this offseason with that Duluth team. The storylines I'm looking forward to is week 2, Kansas City. Mo Strong versus Duluth, man. There was some nice Facebook post made the other day by Mo Strong. Ton of comments, ton of back and forth. I'm like, this is the stuff we need in this sport. It makes it exciting. So Mo Strong is coming for blood in week 2, but it's going to be fun. And then we got Coach Brooks versus Coach O'Neill. That's going to be a fun storyline in itself. I know Coach Brooks and Coach O'Neill, they already have problems. But we got Coach Bones in there. Like, I love Coach Pagante. He's a young, energetic coach. So we got a lot of good storylines. But I'll just give you my 14 playoff prediction right now. Why not? So I just, why not? So at the number 1 seed, man, I got Duluth. Number 2, I got KC. Number 3, I got EU Claire. And at number 4, I have Hot Springs. So
who you got winning it?
I think it's gonna be Duluth and KC this year, and I really think for me it's hard. It's really a toss up. But now if I sit back on it, man, I think Duluth. I really think Duluth Harbor Monsters are gonna get year 2 of the TAL. But I think it's gonna be different. I think a lot of people are expecting their players last year that they had to carry a big load. I think you see like Hassan Brockman, he's still going to have a great season, but his load is going to be reduced because there's so many playmakers around, but it's going to be close. Just because I say Duluth now, it could be KC. It's really a toss-up, but those are 2 of the best in the league.
Hey, correct that, St. Joe.
Thanks. Man, I'm gonna call them KC all year until they make the championship.
Put some respect on our name, Chris. We had this conversation offline. Put some respect on our name.
I know, but
you know what I mean. I know. I what I tell you, I give all due respect to you and being over there at the program, but don't please. I ain't hard to find. I'm one of the best recruiters in this game, best player personnels in the game. You know it. I put together the best roster in AFL history last year, the best coaching staff in AFL history last year. So we ain't hard to find. We had the best record in the TAL last year. We just had a couple slip ups. If we would have had a little bit more TLC on the back end, then we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Right. No, I agree. No, I think you do a great job over there with KC. But I know. Look, let's just take a minute and look at the Duluth team down the page. They got Jamal Couch. Jamal Couch, receiver from Mississippi State. He's with Northern Arizona. They got Dan Williams. How did the TAL let Duluth get Dan Williams, man? That's a 3-year NFL vet coming in. He was with us in Mass. I can't imagine what he's going to do with 7-man football. He's about to cook up. But, no, they got a good team. And they got Nathan Cromie, a receiver I know Coach B you're really high on, and I'm high on too. He got hurt last year. And then, so it's great, man. And KC, they got dogs too. Boo, Ryan Martinez, Malik Wilson. I'm so excited.
We got the best receiving core in the league. We got the best DBs out there.
I think receiving core.
We got the best quarterback in the league.
Quarterback, yeah. Oh, yeah, quarterback. Cato easily the best quarterback in the league.
We don't call him sawed off shotgun for nothing.
Interesting. So are you saying that he's going to be there over playing with Salina late in the season?
Let's see how the cookie crumbles.
I was going to say he is in Salina, so we'll see. But
I know Coach Thomas is, betting his paper that he hopes he's with
Hey,
Case.
I told Chris you cannot sleep on Dorsey. One of the best schemers and coaches in this game. Don't sleep on him.
No, I agree. Coach Dorsey did a great job last year. I think all the coaches in that league, except Iowa, but I think all of them, I feel like, I don't know, Coach B, what do you think about Coach Cam Buffett in Ozarks? I think he does a good job with his program. He's a young coach, and I think he has a lot of upside.
Cam's a good coach. I'll give him that. I just think they wasn't ready for the indoor game as they thought they was, and they got a lot of help from the league. But I think he probably brushed up. He got a nice staff.
all right.
With Ozarks, don't sleep. Don't be surprised if Emory Bryant, the receiver from High Point University, they got there. I've been talking about him too. Coach O'Neill's going to act all surprised week 1 when Emory Bryant's going off. Emory Bryant, the best, is a top 5 receiver in the TAL. On God. He's Emory Bryant, that guy. I love Emory.
So just for anybody watching, Chris is a Duluth fan for now. Just remember that. Duluth fan.
I'm not a Duluth fan. I'm a Duluth supporter. I like Ben McCoy, man, I work with him at the program. So how can I not give him props for the roster he built? But he's built a great roster. I got my guy Javai over there. I gotta show him some love. And I bought a t-shirt the other day, but it had Iowa and Duluth on it. So, I'm jumping around. I got an EU Claire shirt. I'm gonna wear that next week. Coach Brooks gotta show my boy some love. But no, it's just me. I'm not a bandwagon. I stay on trains.
Okay.
This week I'm
careful what you say, buddy. It's all recorded. Just saying.
This week I'm a Billings fan because I hope we win. But next week, in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm a Southwest fan till the end of the season. So I pick my team per game that I root for that game. That's a normal thing to do.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna leave that comment alone completely. I'll let you.
I love this question. This is a good question.
What's the 30-second elevator pitch for the TAL for new fans, Coach B?
I haven't got brushed up on the elevator pitch. We still getting brushed up on that one because they've been trying to take away the double pitch from us.
All right. So some things that could potentially change substantially. So one thing I will say is quarterbacks cannot run. So teams were getting around that by not having the quarterback take the snap and instead get pitched the ball afterward. And then he would be able to run because at that point he's technically a running back, not the quarterback. So interesting situation that kind of unfolded last year, and now they're trying to take it away. So interesting.
That's how Duluth won the championship because they ran the same play with Hassan Brockman 5 times and they scored 3 touchdowns in 10 minutes. They just pitched it back to him and no one could outrun him because he's so fast. He's 4.38. He's insane. And Duluth, Kansas City did the same thing with Ryan Martinez. So I was seeing something too. Chris Goodman, the GM for Hot Springs, mentioned something about a running lane they have in the TAL now. So if you do I don't know if you know this, Coach B, but I like the hat. But the running lane where it's they have to stay within the 2 offensive guards. So essentially the center, they can only run straight. They can't run outside the running lane if you want to run forward with the ball. So that changes the complexion of the game. That's why guys like Coach Brooks will have a ton of success in the TAL this year, I feel.
Definitely going to be an interesting
don't sleep
season.
on my boy down in Arkansas. Me and Chris talked about him. Bones is a nice coach, so he's gonna cook up some stuff.
I agree.
Sounds good. Well, on that note, we're going to play one last commercial for you, and then we will transition into our last topic, which is the question of the day. Drop your answers in the chat. Chris wants to know if teams have to pay for bigger names in order to be competitive in 2025. Things have kind of changed over the last couple of years. A lot more players are commanding more money, and it's definitely affecting team building. So we're going to get into that in just a moment here.
In a world full of fakes, how do you avoid buying fake items that look just like the real thing? Are you getting faked over? Experts say it's all in the details.
How many times a week? Like three or four times, maybe. I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Right, that's right. How many times have you shared this stream today? And if it's less than 3, please do us a solid and go share that. Also hit the like button. Make sure that you're telling whatever platform you're watching on that you enjoy this content and that they should recommend it to new viewers just like you guys. But we are on to the last subject of the day. Do you have to pay for big names in order to be a consistently competitive team? Krish, you're a Massachusetts fan. I'm going to let you open up this discussion because we know how much they like to pay players.
Yo, every player on Massachusetts makes the standard amount, $250. We don't pay every player. We really like. That's one thing our ownership group prides ourselves on. But we're not gonna talk about the IFL for this. This was more of an arena football question because this doesn't apply for the IFL. But anyway, so for the AFL, yes, absolutely, you do have to go and spend money on players. Coach O, my boy, Coach O'Neal. He did Coach O for Salina. He did hint that he said, I want to thank my ownership group for giving me the resources in order to get players like Cato and Toy Boyd, the offensive lineman. So he did hint at that. He did say resources, right? So yeah, those players, we all know Cato doesn't play for $250. So I mean, you have to go and spend money on good players. And I think it should be like that. I think guys like Malik Henry, guys like those, they should be making the most amount of money possible. And it's, they're top end players. Like, why wouldn't you want to, pay? Like, I mean, I'm not going to speak about what we do up here. We run a great program. All I can say is our guys get treated well. We feed them 3 meals a day. We don't give them, one pizza voucher a week like Shreveport does. Or, we don't give them, like we don't have them stay in a ranch like Idaho. Like, nah, we treat our guys good up here. So that's all I'll say on that. But yes, you do have to pay. You do have to get, good players to win games in the F1. I mean, you look at Washington as a perfect example of that, right? They have no big high caliber guys and they're struggling to find their rhythm. But, it all comes down to coaching too. It's also who you have as coaching, but you do have to. Salina looks so different, Rakeem Cato. And by the way, I saw your comment on our previous show that we did that I was hosting that week. And you said, oh, they did have Cato last time we played them when Southwest.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
So I just want to clarify that. Like, Salina would have won that game. But
maybe. We'll know in a couple weeks here. We'll see. But Coach B, why don't you weigh in on this one? Does it take big names and big paydays for teams to be consistently successful? All right, we just lost Coach B, so hopefully he can come back on and chime in. If you're watching, I want to get your thoughts in the chat. We have one here. If you have the right coaching, you can get the most out of any group, i.e. Billings last year with a group of rookies. Coach Walker tends to prefer rookies from what I understand. So he definitely has spent his time over the past couple seasons building out younger rosters up until this year. So that I think can be debated at this point. But Coach B, why don't you weigh in on this one?
To get at the question of the day, no, you don't need a big bank account to fulfill a sustainable roster to win a league championship. Living proof last year. People might have thought we spent the bag, but Chris, can you vouch for this? I let you sit in on the phone as I recruited some players, and what I tell them, what I was giving them was damn near the league minimum, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Like, there were certain players, you won't say names, but there were certain guys who I thought would be worth a lot more money, and you gave them like 500, 600 standard amount. So, I mean, yeah, it is possible. If they buy into your system, buy into your culture, they will come for less money. But it's all about if you buy in, like you can't. Yeah,
You shoot straight forward. Like I tell everybody, the program that I'm gonna bring to you, I'm gonna have the best coaches around. I put together one of the best coaching staffs last year, and my coaches did their job as far as we recruited together. They set a standard, they set a tone, they let the players know what it was gonna be from day one, from recruiting, not from when they got to camp, from recruiting. We're gonna let you know. We were having meetings in November and December of last year. People didn't even know that, but we were having Zoom meetings with our players, installing and getting ready. It's about your preparation, your dedication, and your determination. And we preach that every week. Chris can vouch. If you was late to my meeting, you might have got cut. I didn't have I probably had a full roster to my meetings every week.
That definitely goes a long way. I mean, if you're all on the same page and everything's installed that early, definitely think that's a valid point. That's a valid point. We got one more comment here. You need 4 to 6 core veteran players, and yes, you pay them, then fill out the rest of the team with a mix. I would definitely agree, and I think Coach Walker's kind of realizing that at this point as well. So, I mean, that is a factor. I think there are some teams around that have proven over the years that you do not necessarily need to spend a ton of money to build a roster. I think Omaha is a great indication of that. Sometimes it is about how you treat players on the back end with the housing, the meals, overall professionalism to kind of woo them with something more than money. If that money is literally going in the bank every week and you're not paying for a whole lot of stuff out of pocket, that's going to add up to a lot more money overall that year than it might if you're in a town that isn't providing all of those amenities.
What do you think about, and I do want to bring up this thought, what do you think about teams flying out veteran players to games? Do you know what I mean? Like Oregon was doing that. Like there was another team in the AF1. Like, would you rather have a veteran player that might not show up to practice all week, but you could pay less and you're betting on the chance that they ball out in the game? Or would you rather someone, you pay a little more that's younger, if that makes sense?
I think to me that's a wash, because what you're going to spend in the travel is going to cost just as much, if not more, than the couple extra $100 you would have paid to have that player in town or a similar caliber player. I think that continuity among the team and then setting a tone amongst and building a culture amongst your roster is a lot more important than having those quote unquote, premier players that may have earned that right to kind of come and go as they please as far as flying in and out of town. I think I'd much rather have a couple players that are out there trying to earn their way up the football ladder, guys that are going to buy in and do anything you need from them to be successful versus players that would be flying in on game day. And I mean, I'm not a coach, so I just want to throw that out there. I maybe you can get away with that, but
You said the same stuff that I preached last year. Chris will tell you, it's about buying in and setting the standard. Like you can get a few veterans, but I'd rather build with some young guys that I can coach up. Because that was the thing. I wanted to coach. I wanted to out-coach everybody. You got something to prove. When you coach them up and you build that foundation in that product, the sauce is written in it.
But that's why a guy like David Ross, who we had earlier on, you know what I mean? Like, if you get a guy like that who's willing to die for his team, that's invaluable, to be honest, because he's willing to go and play any. You heard him. I'm willing to play any position they want me to play in order for us to win. And then you got Brentley Allen in Omaha too. He's a younger guy too. So, I think if you have that mix of guys who are willing to run through the wall, and we have that in Matt. We have Sal Napoli. I know he got called up to the NFL, but he's like that. He's willing to do anything it takes to win. And so you just need to surround yourself with good players. Good, like Trey said, good coaching is everything in this game. Everything. And that's why it's impressive, I know, I give Coach Thomas a lot of crap, but this is my conclusion with that is that's why it's impressive when you see a guy like Jalen Morton come back to Southwest Kansas. Not even blink and look at other options, come back straight. Because it shows the relationship and the respect he has with Coach Thomas and the coaching staff. Because he knows Coach Thomas is going to push him hard, and he's going to coach him hard, and he's going to coach him how he wants to be coached. And that's good coaching, in my opinion. That's why you see Michael Lawson come back. That's why you see Daquan Bailey-Brown come back. That's why you see guys who maybe could have got more paper somewhere else come back to Southwest because they want to be around that. And so that's shout out to him. And even Coach O'Neal, he does a great job in Salina. That's why Cato is having so much success. Coach B will vouch for that. So good coaching goes a long way in this game.
And you got to take heed. Dodge City and Salina are like big city places. Those are small towns. So for them to retain the rosters that they retain and have the people come in and come there, that shows a testament to their coaching and to what people are buying into their system.
I would agree. And obviously they're doing something right with both of those cities because like you said, Dodge City, I can tell you for sure, is not very big. I went to a game last year, and honestly, I was kind of surprised by how small it was. But, hey, at the end of the day, it's a place where you can go and you can focus on football. You can find work and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different reasons why players might want to go play there. But any final thoughts before we wrap this one up today, fellas?
Yeah, no, I know we're at 85 viewers, and I appreciate everyone tuning in this week. I love the support that we get on the show. I wasn't gonna come today. I had some personal stuff going on, but I still showed up because this is my number one show. I really do enjoy doing this and talking about indoor football and giving it the fair coverage it deserves. I think the whole industry should be scared that I'm back doing interviews, because it's about to get real. So I was saying, I came back one day this week and I did an interview and I already won the viewership belt for 3 weeks. So, I mean, what else is about to happen? So Monday night, we got a top 5 AF1 receiver. He's top 5 in every category. He played on the West Coast. So I think you should tune into that. I won't say who it is, but you'll see Monday night. But I got my luggage coming. So I'm excited to be back and got a lot of great stuff coming up. So.
Krish flu game respect. Definitely appreciate you being here. Was wondering if you were going to make it this morning, actually. So I appreciate your time. And I'm excited that you're back doing interviews. There's a lot of competition for that belt you speak of, though. Shout out to Cool McCain, who's been doing a lot of different shows as of late for the network, specifically with the American Arena League, too. Has 3 different shows just for that league. And then also his regular workload on top of that. Michael Washington's kicking up his busy season as well. Has a spring showcase going on with Daniel Villapando. And then also we'll have some other shows coming up here soon with the CFL about to kick off, and then possibly some ELF where we're kind of up in the air on that one as of right now. And then, just basically everybody. LeCedric, Justin, they're both killing it on the fantasy football front. LeCedric's doing 3 episodes a week currently as well. Really, I've just honestly, I can't shout out. I could sit here and spend all day talking about the team that we've built here at Shady Sports Network, and I'm very proud of what we've accomplished so far. And we're only really scratching the surface. This show is kind of an indication of how we've built support over the years, and we really appreciate everyone who tunes in, who supports us by sharing the streams and hit the like button, doing all that stuff, as well as guests like Coach B who come on and lend their knowledge to us, because honestly, that's what's made this platform so great. But Coach B, any final thoughts this week before we get out of here?
Man, appreciate y'all for having me. You saw the comments, Chris. He said he making room for you over there at Billings. So I love it, man. I love the comment from the fans. Keep intriguing with us, man. Coach B will be back again. I love the show. I almost didn't make it either. I got a couple of funerals today, so I'm glad I did get on because it sparked my morning up.
I'm sorry to hear about the losses, my friend, and hopefully we can find some solace in their passing. But on that note, appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the like button on whatever platform you're watching, the little heart, the thumbs up, whatever it may be on that platform. And then tune in every Saturday. You know, we kick off around the same time every Saturday morning to kind of be your go-to morning show to discuss all the major storylines from the week that was before we kick off the games. Yes, we had some Thursday night and Friday night games this week, so we didn't catch those ones, but typically do a pretty good job of catching all the storylines. If there's a subject that you want to hear on the future episodes, make sure to drop it in the comments now. I promise you we will get it in on the next week's script. And with that, we'll catch you guys next Saturday at 8 a.m.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.